Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Thursday. It's sunny. It's episode 55, and it's Allister and Geoff with another episode of the Real Deal Pod. We are so happy to have you guys back here with us. I hope you guys have been enjoying your week. My mom is headed back home, back to sunny Manitoba. My goodness, man. No, listen, dude. It has been plus 30 over the past couple days. Plus 30, man. No. So when I say sunny Manitoba, Manitoba is a lot nicer than British Columbia is all throughout the summer, right? So that is where everybody in BC likes to say, oh, Winnipeg's cold in the wintertime. It's a lot nicer every other months of the year. So yeah,
That, that I think so. What you're saying is Manitoba is a bipolar province.
it is, man. It actually has the largest or the largest extremes of weather in the world. In
Yeah,
the world.
it's a bipolar province.
It is from minus to plus. We have the largest swings. It's actually crazy. When I learned that, I thought in the entire world, that is insane. But I guess it's where it's situated on the equator and all that sort of stuff. I don't know science. I'm a real estate agent. Geoff, buddy, how you doing, man? How's your week been?
Yeah, you know what? My week was good. The weather is looking great. I had the one of the biggest brain farts in a while. I have some beautiful flagstone backyard that we just recently did, and I go out there with I go to the store and say, hey, I need some chalking paint because I want to lay out where I might want to put a possible hot tub and a possible fire pit, but I want to make sure that it has to kind of go away like when it rains. So I buy this paint and it was green, and I was like, oh, I wish I had orange. And I'm like, just how my OCD mind works. And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back to the store and get and see if they got restocked or something. So I go in there and it's like, oh, hey, they got orange. So the bottles look the same, everything looks the same. The color is what I want. I go and exchange it, go spray everything out on my beautiful flagstone deck. Guess what? This
Didn't.
is permanent paint.
Oh no.
This is not water soluble paint.
Soluble paint.
This is permanent paint. So, yeah, so that's what I've been dealing with.
Oh, well, that's fun. Oh man, that's fun.
No, it's not fun.
No, it's
It's
not
not
fun.
fun.
I know it's not fun. I'm just trying to make you feel a little bit better, man.
Oh, I don't feel good at all. It also reminds me one time when I was living in my other house, just being a good neighbor, say, oh, I'm gonna get rid of all these weeds and grab my weed killer and and my weed killer is Kill X or whatever that is,
Yeah,
destroyed the entire yard.
you killed the grass. You just killed everything there.
Killed everything. So you know what? Yeah, I've had some great moments in my day.
That's fantastic. It's funny. I have a buddy. So do you remember the show King of the Hill
Hmm.
back in the day? Hank
The
Hill.
cartoon.
Yeah, that cartoon, Hank Hill, he was always all about his lawn and look at that lawn over there. Look at how green it is. So I got a buddy that's like that. We joke around. He's Hank Hill. We always say, hey, what's the pH balance levels in your grass right now? I can't be that guy as much as I try to be, because I do like my lawn. Like I like the lawn and everything looking really nice and all that sort of stuff. I just can't get that down with, making sure every single dandelion weed and everything like that is out of the grass, that the grass is that perfect emerald green looking color, all that craziness. That's nuts, man.
Dude,
Oh, we're
all you got to do is go get Weed Man or whatever lawn company that is. Pay the $600 full service fee for your year.
right.
You'll get it.
I think that's the way to go. That's it. Pay
That's
for
the way to go.
it. That's awesome, man. Well, let's get into it, man, because it's been kind of crazy. We've got the our government set in, and
Yeah.
they're already doubling down on our housing plans. They're talking about billions of dollars for prefabs. They're talking mass timber construction. And as we said, they're even getting back into building homes. But it's funny. I was reading an article this today, and of course, BC real estate leaders are sounding the alarm, right? They're saying, hey, hold up. What you're saying is going to cost us a lot of money. So Neil Crystal, he's the CEO of Polygon Realty. So for people that don't know Polygon, they're one of the biggest developers in our province. Full disclosure, they're actually one of my favorites in terms of the product that they build. They're a tremendous company. So Neil warns that while prefab sounds fast, right? It's the municipal delays and not the construction that are the real bottleneck. And that is true. That is one of the things that we have spoken about. I know on this podcast before, this is something that we as realtors, when we're speaking with our civic leaders, our city leaders, we discuss it constantly because it is to get a plan approved for a townhouse development from having the plan submitted to having the plan approved has been taking almost 9 months,
Yeah.
which is freaking crazy. It should actually take 3 weeks,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
A very good friend of mine is a developer, and basically you're mirroring the exact conversation that he has with me all the time.
Exactly. And so and actually Neil had said projects can even sit for for years in the approval limbo, driving, and what that does for the developers is it drives up the land carrying costs and the final home prices for the build time. So what they're forced to do, of course, is that they have to pass on these costs that are incurred onto us as consumers, right? Because they can't eat the whole thing or else they're not around anymore to build us more properties. So rather than the government putting all of their eggs into the building of homes for us, he's looking into more of the government being the innovation. So building the programs, providing them to the developers, and allowing the developers to carry out the final product, right? He's also questioning, though, the economics too of mass timber and modular bills, calling them more costly homes, of course, right? That is true. So we know the cost of timber is rising, right? So again, by using mass timber, it is again inflating the costs of the home. So a lot of the questions or a lot of the practical suggestions that are being put forth, of course, is cutting GST completely for first-time home buyers, right? Offering low-rate financing and reducing development cost charges. And then one of the biggest ones, and this is one of the ones I want to get your take on, Geoff, is reintroducing foreign investment into pre-sales.
Yeah.
Now, we know that that's been a hot button topic for quite a few years, right? And that was the biggest thing that was ran on in the previous election, was ridding us of foreign investment in British Columbia, right? How do you feel about that? I know why it's been done. I think, or so before I say that, Geoff, I'm going to, from an outsider, before you jump in, from an outsider, right, as somebody that grew up in another province, I had always heard, and then moving here, got to learn quite fast that British Columbia was the wild west for real estate investment. So again, all of this stuff is done provincially. There's different rules per province. And British Columbia lacked any substantial rules, any substantial checks and balances in order to mitigate the what could happen and what we did roll into, right? So how do you feel about the reintroducing of foreign investment?
I think when you ask this question, it's like asking a question as far as an opinion, and I'll use
Yeah,
the election that just passed, right? There's
sure.
going to be a sandbox of opinion on this, like as just as a renter looking to buy a home, and that sandbox is, well, you know what, we need the ability to purchase something, and we need the ability to afford something. And if we allow foreign buyers to come in, they're just going to push everything up, which
Right.
is what has happened, right? So that's a fair argument. Then there comes to the opinion that, okay, and let's speak about developers. Let's speak about housing. Right now, developers, as you said, are delaying future projects because
Yep.
they can't even sell out on the phases that they're just trying to complete.
Right now, exactly.
So now we have a lot of empty units, because buyers or investors of those units are not able to complete because what they bought them for to what they're worth today is far, far less. So it's easier for them to walk away. Developers are unable to carry on with future products just because of affordability on their end. And they're saying, like, how are we going even to pay back on the projects that we are now completing on, because buyers are now walking away and forfeiting their deposits, or that fair market value is not there. So, as far as what they completed on their costs are not going to be covered. So now they're going to be turning these units into rental units. So again, there's a lot more affordable housing, right?
Yep.
And right now, just even there's that buyer's market where there's just so much product that's out there. There's going to be more product that's out there because of people walking away from these pre-sales because, again, of fair market value to what they bought them for to what they are now. Um, so again, like, I'm a fan of foreign buyers. I think again, it's a no-brainer. Like, if you have the inventory, how are you going to get rid of the inventory? You talk about where Canada is going here within the next 2 to 4 years. We have our government elected. We still are kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with that US-Canada relationship. There's a lot of kind of fear in the water as far as what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in Canadians to purchase, right?
Yep.
Just speaking with my son yesterday, and I'm completing on a pre-sale right now that I bought 2 years ago. And we bought it for, say, 600,000, a two bedroom condo, two bathroom, 800 square feet in the Fraser Valley. We bought it for 600. Fair market value on that right now is 565,000. So there is a $35,000 shortfall on there.
Yeah.
But again, is that worth walking away from? Absolutely not, because I believe within the next, 5 years, the way that appreciation historically works, we're going to see a 4 to 6% lift on that, and it's going to make sense,
No,
right?
I agree completely. Yeah.
Then we talk about other clients that I'm working with who purchased a condo in Toronto. They purchased this thing for 761,000. Today's fair market value on it is about 600,000. So
Yeah.
there's a $161,000 shortfall on that. They have about $130,000 in. They now need to make a decision as far as if they're going to just walk away from it or move forward with it. But if you're trying to, bridge a gap of 160 grand, that property needs to appreciate a lot more just to kind of get it back to the purchase price they bought it for.
Yeah, that is a lot tougher of a go to recoup that cost. I mean, like you were saying, so for yours, $35,000 over, let's say, 5 years, right? There's no question, in my opinion, and we don't have it, as realtors always say, we don't have a crystal ball, but historically, and I'm a big believer in history, it's cyclical. I believe to make up that $35,000, I believe it'll be made up in 3 years, not five,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Okay.
$161,000, I think that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to foreign buyers again, if Canada has always had the concern of affordability. So our government has implemented programs and to make that kind of more affordable. by introducing programs and platforms to do that. And we've talked about that on previous
Yeah.
pods. Then there is rental, like as far as housing crisis, right? That's why we got rid of short-term rentals because again, there was no housing, affordable
Right.
housing. But now we have a lot of rental units and
Mhm.
they're still not being rented,
Yeah.
right? Depending on
Yeah.
where we are and what kind of area we're talking about. So again, now we have housing that's not that basically is not moving. We have a lot of space where people are not still not renting, or
Mhm.
they're renting and there's still a whole bunch more. I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer to bring foreign buyers back into the market, but that's my opinion.
I'm going to say that I agree with you. And the reason why, and so when I say foreign investors, because people know that I have trumpeted that there needs to be checks and balances, and that's the biggest thing. There needs to be checks and balances when it does come to our foreign investment in Canada, right? I do believe that us as Canadians should be given the opportunity of affordable housing
Yeah,
first, and
absolutely.
not allowing foreign investors to control the market, to control the cost of our homes,
Yeah.
right? And that is what British Columbia, and that is what Toronto, we'll just say that's what Canada, with the advent of with us entering globalism, right, back in the 90s, that's what it did, right? It allowed foreign investment to control our markets.
Yeah.
So now I believe what needs to be done is we need to have checks and balances put in place, just like anything else.
Yeah.
If we have proper checks and balances put in place, then we can control it, right? We need to have full transparency when it comes to what foreign investment looks like,
Yeah.
right? Because here in British Columbia, I hear it all the time from people outside. It's always ethnicity based. Okay, that's how BC, a lot of British Columbians like to believe the foreign investment goes. And I actually had to educate a few of my clients and let them know that quote unquote ethnic foreign investment actually only made up, what was it, 5% of sales? It is the United States that carried our foreign investment. The majority of our foreign investment is from our neighbors down south. It's not anybody from India or China. It is, and yes, they do make up 5%.
Yeah.
But that's 5% is, as we all know, a very, very small portion. So again, if we are more transparent, right, as a country, right, in letting and having more checks and balances into how it's controlled, then it'll be much easier to manage the affordability. Because Jack Finelson, or Jock Finelson, I beg your pardon, he is actually the um, um, he's the head of the independent. What was it? Sorry, um, where is he here? He's Jock Finelson. He's the head of the Independent Home Builders Association, and he made a great comment. Prices have remained high with foreign investment, with the foreign buyers plan or ban being in place, and it's true. We have spoken because the foreign buyers ban has been in place for a good, what, 7, 8, almost a year now, right? No, it
Mhm.
is. It's been a year. We're going into year two because they extended it, right? And we've spoken about it. There has been very, very little movement in pricing, whether it be
Yeah.
condos, townhomes, or single family homes.
Well,
Sellers
the movement has flattened.
has flattened.
It
That's it.
hasn't gone up, and it
Yeah.
really, again, depending on where we're talking, hasn't gone down, right?
Right. And if it's gone down, it's only been nominal, 0.1, 0.2, maximum 0.5%, right? Because our sellers are still saying, hey, we still want our value. And our buyers are still saying, hey, we want the market to move.
But also, again, because and also depending on when you bought, because again, if we
Yes.
use our example of clients of ours that bought in Toronto on this pre-sale 2 or 3 years ago, the market has dropped considerably. And is that because of the lack of foreign buyers? Possibly, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah, well, the sales have dropped, but not the pricing hasn't dropped. So that's what I'm saying though. Like we haven't seen a movement really in pricing. So how is the foreign buyers ban making things more affordable?
I think we have seen a movement in pricing, depending on where we're talking about,
Okay.
right? Because again, back
Oh,
to
you're
our,
talking about the prefabs. Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
I
I'm
was talking
talking
about
about the
resale.
pre-sales, right?
Yeah, sorry. I was
So,
talking about the resale market.
oh,
Yes.
you're okay. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is good to have clarification because I don't want to sound like, hey, we started off with this,
No.
these folks
Yeah.
are losing this, and now they're like, what? But we're
Yeah,
talking
no, that's true. But
pre-sale,
that's
we're
right.
talking pre-sale. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-ball, and that's one of the things. So it's actually good that we are calling that out because it's always prefabs are typically marketed lower than the resale market. And resale market, as we all know, is that you bought a house and you sell it again.
Yeah.
That's the resale market, right? So the prefab market is always marketed below what market value is because the pre-sales will drive their business on volume. And then once they've sold out the majority in that phase, then those last 3 to 5 units, then they'll bump that pricing back up to market value in order to make back some of the money that they've lost on selling it below market value. But what's been happening, right, over the past 7 months or so, the pre-sale market has been 15% higher than the resale market because because of their costs, their carrying costs, those timber costs, and all of that sort of things associated, the land carrying costs and stuff associated with it, they're having to pass those costs onto the consumer, which is elevating that price point 15% above what resale is. And so now when people were normally saying, oh, I want brand new and I can get brand new cheaper, I only have to wait a few more months or whatever for it to complete, they're not even looking into pre-sales anymore. And like you said, where in foreign investment, yes, right, was a really big driver of that category, right? With the foreign buyer ban being in place, you've lost a good, what would I say? I'm going to say 65% of that categories of the people that would purchase in that category. You've taken away 65% of those buyers is what I would guess. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's what I'm going to guess is 65% was what was put into the pre-sale market. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. And another thing that's being talked about too, and I agree with this because it goes back to what we said at the beginning with the timelines from the municipal standpoint of getting approvals done. If they do in fact create this as a national housing crown corporation, how are we going to then handle the bureaucracy that comes with that? Mm. Right? How are we going to manage those approval timelines? What is that going to look like? Right? Because we cannot create even more red tape again across Canada. Because again, before, right, as I've always stated, housing is a provincial thing, not taken care of by the feds. Only now, only because of this election, is the federal or are the feds now getting their toes back into it. So if we are going to create another government agency, we have to minimize the bureaucracy within that. We can't have bottlenecks all across the country now in building.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of because there's a lot of topics that we've touched on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talked about this prior to jumping on the pod, but again, maybe Alistair, take 30 seconds to 120 seconds just to summarize the did you know and what the federal government is doing and how that really affects the developers, right?
Okay. So let's summarize it. So we all now have our government in place. And as we know, our government stood on all parties stood on the platform, well, except for one, NDP stood on Farmer Care, but our two big ones, conservatives and liberals, they stood on in getting involved in our housing in our housing across Canada. We now have a new government in place, the Liberal government, and they are now talking about putting billions of dollars into prefabs and mass timber construction.
And when you say prefabs, we're talking
Pre-sale homes, right? Pre-sale homes and modular homes as well, right? So now Neil Crystal, the CEO of Polygon, one of the biggest developers here in British Columbia, and carries a lot of weight when it comes to policy making and discussions. He is stating that the real delay is not construction, or is municipal delays, not construction, and we are to watch out for more costly homes that won't meet the need of affordability as a result of bottlenecks in construction and the cost of mass timber and all of that sort of stuff being passed on to you as a consumer. Much like the tariffs, right? The cost of tariffs being pushed onto the consumer. Now it's going to be the cost of land carrying cost, the timber costs, all of those costs in the pre-sale market are going to be pushed onto the consumer, right? So the pre-sale or the resale market may increase, may get a lot busier. Again, resale is if you own a home and you sell it, that's a resale home. But what that could do in activating that category is raise the cost in that category, because now we have a lot more going on there. Right. So what Crystal is looking for is more practical suggestions, such as cutting GST completely for first-time home buyers, offering low-rate financing and reducing development cost charges for developers, and reintroducing foreign investment into the pre-sale market, right? So even Jock Finlayson, as I said, who's the chief economist with the Independent Contractors and Business Association, he's cautioning against federal overreach, saying creating a national housing crown corporation, he says would be, I'm going to say could be, a bureaucratic mess. So what he would like is for the feds to fund innovation and not swing the hammer, right? So for the feds to really spend the money, really funding the innovation, setting out the programs, right? And then distributing them out to the provinces and having them run it, which I will say makes sense. In all honesty, that does make sense to me. I am on that side. I am not a big believer. I am not one that likes the federal government actually getting involved in our real estate industry. And the reason being that I don't like it, and I've said it before, is because if they do something in Manitoba or Saskatchewan, then they have to do it in British Columbia. And those are completely different markets, right? There's not a catch-all solution for Canada. So to roll things out as a catch-all solution, I think is a very dangerous thing to do. I think we cause a lot more problems than we fix. So that's my take on it. In short summary, I think that, the federal government, yes, has all the best intentions. I truly do. I just believe I'm along the lines with Neil Crystal. I think that we should look at the feds just putting in an agency, or putting in a task force that their role is to set the innovation. Their role is to come up with policies that could work and will work individually in each province, and go from there. Yeah. That's my deal. What do you think? You think that's a good deal?
You know what? I'm always on the let's wait and see, right?
Yeah.
What I can tell you is pre-sale developers are struggling, right?
Yeah.
They're struggling. They're struggling to complete projects. They're struggling to start projects. There's delays with development because of these increased rise in costs, and probably just kind of seeing what the federal government is going to do within that development landscape, right?
Yeah.
So it's so funny because everybody wants to be a developer when things are going. But you know
Yep.
what? There's not too many people that want to be a developer in today's environment with how things are going as of today. But so again, let's see. Let's see what
Here's
happens.
one of the best. I'm just going to read actually this quote from Crystal, and I think this actually subs or puts it the best. He said, I noticed in the platform they wanted to use mass timber in a lot of their programs. So far, I think that's a more costly home, he said. It's a bit of an oxymoron to build to high standards and address affordability unless there's significant subsidies. It's a bold, ambitious idea, but we have to truly understand what the costs are going to be. And if it's done through federal government grants to subsidize the building of a home, that's where our tax dollars end up going. I think that's the best way to summarize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I
We'll
wanted to
wait and see now.
let's
Just
wait and
let
see.
we'll wait and see. It's going to be like we keep saying, it's going to be an interesting next, 4 years. It's going to be an interesting ride.
I always tell people this is that all you can do as a Canadian is vote,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
All you can, because you're not in that position to make change. And if you are in that position to make change, then you need to put a lot of energy in doing that. And end of the day, most people are not going to do it, right?
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, we complain and we don't vote. Shame on you.
Yeah.
Complain, you do vote. What more can you do outside of actually now becoming an activist in what you truly believe in, which again is going to take a lot of your time and a lot of your energy. But if you believe in it, then what are you going to do about it? Right? And, and, and at the end of the day, most people are not going to do anything outside of complain. But again, if you haven't voted, then don't complain.
That's it. And I always say to people, talk to your municipal leaders, if you don't like something, call your municipal leader
Yeah.
and tell them. If you don't like somebody, call your MLA, the person that you voted for, right, to be in charge of your community. Call them
Yeah.
and tell them that you don't like what they're doing. And to your point, if you didn't vote, then you don't then don't complain because you don't have a right to say anything because
Yeah.
you didn't partake, right? Like now you just pardon me, you sound stupid, right? You sound ignorant. If you're complaining and you didn't even vote, you sound like a dummy, right?
And again, like if you're truly passionate about something that you're not liking, there's a lot of people that put that on their back and make a huge difference
Yep.
because they truly believe in it. So I'm not saying, hey, like most people aren't going to, but if it bothers you to the point where you can't sleep or everything that you post is about what you're concerned about, then put it on your back and make it a priority. And you know what? You could be that person that actually does change policy because there are people out there that have done it by bringing awareness, right?
100%. 100%. Yeah, man. That's a good one. Awesome. So, what do you got for us?
Well, you know what? This was a great conversation. We're already 30 minutes deep into it. So, um, what I wanted to kind of talk about is just what the retail sales look like here in Canada. You know, what that looks like as of 2025 and what really is that going to mean moving forward with rates
Right.
and housing. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of Canadians in Canada was waiting to see who was going to be taking on our prime minister role and leading our country. That now has been established.
Yeah.
Now I think we're at the point where how is Canada's and US relationship going to be moving forward? What is this tariff situation going to look like, and what is that going to look like as we move forward? And really, when you take a look at 2025 so far, Canada is suffering. We take a look at retail sales.
Mhm.
Retail sales are down about 0.4%. Motor vehicle sales are down about 2.6%. New car sales are down about actually 3%.
Yep.
Retail sales, core retail sales with the excluding of gas and auto are up just slightly, marginally by about 0.5%.
Now, are these over last year?
This is as of 2025.
Yeah, over LY, so over
Right.
2024? Okay, yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
our e-commerce has slipped, and pretty much every province saw declines. Seven provinces saw declines, with Quebec and Nova Scotia being hit the hardest.
Well, if you look like if so, you just look at Fraser Valley stats that came out for April, down 29% over last year,
Yeah.
right? With
Over a
10
declining market from last year.
exactly with 10,000, and we are now at 10,000 listings, by the way.
Yeah. So a buyer's market. So
Buyer's market.
and again, when we take a look at the sluggish start that we've had in 2025, this is the second month that we've seen a retail dip.
Yep.
We're actually seeing unemployment going up to about 6.7%.
Yep.
We're seeing the Canadian Federation of Independent Business forecast that our GDP is going to be at about 5.6% in quarter two. And we're seeing these trade tensions. We're seeing inflation rising. We just talked about by business confidence weakening. And what does that mean when it comes to rates? I've always said it and I'll say it again. Poor economic news is good news when we talk about rates. We're expecting to see our Bank of Canada drop its overnight lending rate come June by about probably a lot of people say another quarter of a point. 66% of economists out there believe that we're going to see another rate cut come June 4th. If we take a look at even where our overnight lending rate is as of today, it's 2.75%, which is down 5% from the same time last year. So again, those variable rates are coming back into line. Our inflation rate is at 2.3%, and we've talked about this for time and time again that our target market is our target inflation rate is at 2%. So what again does this mean? It means it's a great opportunity to buy. Our interest rates are going to go lower. Just as you said, our inventory is at all-time highs. And when we are in a buyer's market, guess what happens? Guess who has the control as far as when it comes to putting offers on property? So now we are in a buyer's market. We're continuing to see our late rates lower
Yep.
or stabilize. But again, we're in a perfect environment for people to start to purchase. And
No, it's true.
yeah,
We are, and I sometimes just find it laughable because we've had buyers for 2 years now. Well, we'll say COVID, COVID, they were crying, saying, "Why can't we buy? Like, we can't buy anything. We can't do anything. I can't get into anything. I can't do this. I can't do that." Then we start having, then COVID ends and we start seeing the rates go up and all that sort of stuff, but we start seeing pricing get cheaper. And then we hear, oh no, but it's still the rates are too high and this, that, and the other, and da 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 da. And now we've legitimately hit a point. I personally think we're at the perfect nexus where we've had those rates come down tremendously. We are way better in line, right? From a rate standpoint. And just finished saying we have 10,000 listings up in the Fraser Valley. That's just the Fraser Valley. I didn't get into Vancouver, right? 10,000 listings in the Fraser Valley. We are in a buyer's market. Buyers have all the leverage that they have been begging and pleading and crying and screaming for since COVID. And they're sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know about tariffs. I don't know about that." So what's going to happen is when everything gets figured out, we're going to hear people crying and screaming and like, "Oh, but what happened to my time?" And you're going to expect people to feel sorry for you. I am
yeah,
going to be honest with you, everybody. I'm not going to feel sorry for anybody, nor should anybody feel sorry for you. I'm being absolutely honest. No, I'm being absolutely honest. It's like telling kids, don't touch the stove. right? Because it's hot. And then they just don't want to listen. Then finally they touch the stove and they start crying, oh my God, it was hot. Well, listen, you
Well,
were told by
here,
millions of people.
here's the thing. Economic shifts create windows of opportunity,
Right.
right? When people are fearful, be greedy. And when people are greedy, be fearful. Again, we've talked about this before, and I've seen this back about
Yeah.
2010-ish, where it was a buyer's market. Property value was at a low.
Yeah.
And you take a look at it within the next 5 years, come 2015, everything was exactly where it needed to be. And as if there was no bump in the
Right.
whole housing thing. And that's, to your point, people are going to say, I missed the opportunity. I wish I would have bought when it back in May
Help
of
me, help me. And then you're going to hear,
2025,
help me, help me, help me.
right? And then again, because people get handcuffed because they're fearful, right?
Right.
So really easy to say, harder to do. I get it, right? Again, I'm completing on a pre-sale. It is nerve-wracking because it's like, oh, I bought it for 600,000. Now it's only worth 565,000. Where is this market going? We're in a buyer's market. You
But
take a look at hold on, you take a look at the same property, that property value. Like you start believing everything that you're hearing, and it can really put a handcuff on people moving forward and doing and understanding like, hey, economic shifts don't always create windows of opportunity for everybody or every sector. But again, people will always ask, how do the rich get richer? The rich get richer because they love these types of environments because this is where they have great opportunity.
but that's so I'm going to just to just catch a key point of what you were speaking on right there. Because you mentioned, you bought a place that, that you've now on a shortfall and this, that, right? I think we need to do a better job too as people of explaining. Geoff was trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he mistimed the market. So, for all of you out there that are trying to time the market right now, because I'm trying to get in at the best price, at the best rate, and all that, this is what you are risking. This is what I'm saying. This is why you have to not fall into like listening to all the propaganda and all of that sort of stuff and sitting down with educated people like Geoff and I or somebody that you trust and having these discussions. And yes, you may mistime the market. I mistimed the market myself. Geoff and I were having a talk offline where I missed the market offline. I cost myself close to 100 grand on a townhome, right? Like, that's where I almost mistimed the market, right? It happens,
Yeah.
right? All of us do it. Even the most educated people do it. It's not an exact science, but what we're doing things with the we're making decisions not based on the fears of others. We're making decisions based on the educated data that we have at the time. Yes, there are going to be anomalies that happen, like COVID, that may increase your properties into where you just won, like you won a lottery, or may decrease your property and make you feel like you're gonna like you're gonna lose your home and your shirt and everything that you own. Those are the pitfalls of life. But at the end of the day, those pitfalls of life happen once every 100 years, right? COVID happened, then the only time before that was the Spanish flu, and I'd like to know how many of our listeners were alive during the Spanish flu, right? So that's what I'm saying to everybody is, right, you've got to look at real estate as cyclical, knowing that it's going to come back. We are at a point in time, like back in 2016, where property prices are actually at a great nexus where you are going to get a property for its best value and you're going to start driving its best equity. Stop waiting to see if it's going to drop another 1/4%. What is that 1/4% really going to mean to you? If that 1/4% means $3, seriously, then I'm going to tell you, stop buying coffee at Tim Hortons once a week. There's your $3. And now you can have to stop worrying about mistiming the market. And now you can get into the market and know you're going to be safe. That's what I'm saying. Like we got to stop, like in all of the stuff that we talk about in giving advice, we got to make sure that we also tell them, hey, this is the mistake we made. because we were trying to do this. Don't do that, right? Because I truly believe that the most intelligent people learn from the mistakes of others. Stupid people learn from their own. And that's what I mean by touching that stove. When you've had 100 people tell you that stove is hot, why do you need to touch it? Right? Why do you have to be that stupid person that burns their hand to be able to say, oh, you were right? Right?
I want to even dig a little bit deeper in that, and then I know we probably kind of bring this to a close. I think people need to also learn from their mistakes, right?
Sure.
So I think you're only stupid if you don't learn from the mistakes that you've made. Because I think wise people have always made mistakes and they learn from it, and then those type of mentors will pass that wisdom on to others.
100%, but we agree that Warren Buffett, right, one of the most intelligent people, right?
Yeah.
He says that. Don't learn from the mistakes of others, not your own. So
But
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying, right? We are all going to make mistakes in life. That's just what we do, right? That we, of course, right? We are all going to make mistakes in life, and yes, we do have to learn from our own mistakes. But when you have 100 people telling you something, that is not a mistake you need to learn from. That is the point. Is more often than not in life, we have a multitude of people that have been in that experience and tell us not to do it. And then we go and make that stupid mistake. And then we try to turn around and look for sympathy and empathy when we've made that mistake. And what Warren Buffett says is that no, you actually don't deserve that empathy and you don't deserve that sympathy because you were told and educated and then decided to make a poor decision. The who deserves the empathy, who deserves the sympathy is that person that you said that had to learn from their own mistake because there was no warning, right? Those are the people that, yeah, man, oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. I wish I would have been there to tell you, or yeah, how do we help you learn from that mistake? Those are the mistakes that we will learn from. But if you're sitting in a room with 100 people and they're all telling you not to do it, and you decide to do it, the empathy and sympathy is not there. It's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I like to arrange that. And that's why I love that saying by Warren Buffett, right? Intelligent people learn from the mistakes of others. Stupid people learn from their own.
Amen.
Amen. Well, that's it. You got anything else?
No, I'm done. I'm
Dude,
done.
I can't believe this went that fast. This was a super fast pod, man.
Well, the clock says otherwise.
I know, I believe you. I'm looking at the timer myself, right? I'm just like, this is super fast. It was awesome. Well, guys, we want to thank you as always for joining us today. We hope you guys were able to take some nuggets out. Again, really what it's all about and what Geoff and I are always preaching is always be connected to your power teams. Always be having these discussions with whomever is in your power teams. These discussions should be happening all the time. You should be voicing these concerns that you may be having of when is the right time. If you are trying to time the market, how do I time the market? And should I be trying to time the market? Am I going to buy a pre-sale? What are the pitfalls that I'm looking at into buying a pre-sale right now? I have a client that was supposed to complete on a pre-sale in the upcoming month or two. Now it's being delayed until September or December, right? So there's a lot of delays going on in pre-sales right now as well. So what is that looking like? We should be having these conversations all the time. And if you're not, and if the person that's supposed to be your power member, if they're not making the time for you to have these conversations with you, then you really got to start rethinking about who the members of your power team are. But again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to us today. Geoff and I, again, are always, doubling down on delivering value to you guys and making sure that you guys are educated and getting everything that you guys need. Please continue to love, like us, share us, and tell everybody you know about us. We will be back here next week with episode 56.
Wow.
It is going to be, I think it's actually supposed to rain this weekend. So if it's raining this weekend, cuddle up, do what I do. If I don't have any showings, if I don't have to go out and get out there with any clients, Watch a silly 80s movies. 80s movie. I'm telling you, curling up with a loved one and watching a ridiculous 80s movie on a Sunday is absolutely an amazing day to have. It rocks. So do something like that. Just, cuddle up with somebody, reconnect with the people that you love. Just enjoy the weekend if it's raining. And if it's not raining, get outside with the people that you love and enjoy it as well. And if you need to buy a home in the meantime, reach out to Geoff and I. We'll take you out. We'll help you buy a home, and then we'll get back to either watching that 80s movie or enjoying the outdoors with the family. But with that being said, Geoff, stay empowered, stay informed, and most importantly,
Stay tuned.
that's right, people. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Peace out.